I'm so old again. I can remember where I think for most of my life, platinum traded at a premium to gold. But in recent years, it's been very much the inverse of that. And it seems that I mean I know that the bear story on platinum versus palladium is that it is used primarily in catalytic converters for diesel engines. Am I right about that? Doesn't really have the market share in the traditional internal combustion engines. And there was a time when diesel engines, that was a big growth story. I don't remember, before the scandals with, was it Volkswagen in Germany, where, they were messing with the emissions data. And of course, that was a huge problem and controversy. But, diesel is not the growth. And, in fact, if you look in China, what they're doing is they're replacing a lot of their diesel trucks. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a significant portion with compressed natural gas, another bullish factor for the natural gas story, which we'll talk about in a bit. So diesel to me doesn't seem, but putting that part of it aside, I mean, platinum still is a valuable commodity that maybe someday will be considered to be at least equal to gold in terms of its value, ignoring the catalytic converter issue. But do you have any thoughts on why it trades so chronically cheap?
Yeah, yes, I have a lot. It's just to start with, there was a back in 2020 that they found a way to substitute platinum for palladium, which kind of shifted that dynamic slightly in that you use more platinum and less palladium. So that kind of rejigged the market dynamics slightly there. Um, and with the price spike, it also freed up a lot of PGMs in general on the back of the Russian invasion and all in taking off. So with that said, the kind of the, the more interesting story for me is just how rare they are geographically, and how like if you look globally, there's for platinum production, it really is only centered in South Africa. They have the majority of the platinum rich deposits, and they have the vast majority of the rhodium rich deposits are all in one little reef around the bushveld in South Africa, and that's where it's all been produced. There is no there is no real plans for any boost of production other than Zimbabwe. But again, that's palladium heavy like Russia. And between the two, yeah, it's really rolling over. And I think people just being why it's traded so weak is, again, I believe it's this idea that the catalytic converters are essentially in a long-term decline, and so the underinvestment in these sectors is warranted because demand is going to slowly decline. You can actually look at Nor Nickel. Their presentations are really interesting because they've got to spin, because their main commodity is nickel. They've got to spin the battery story because that's their main product, and they've got to kind of play down the sort of the hybrids or the ICE or internal combustion engines maintaining market share. And so they've got some pretty bearish outlooks. They're starting to change, and obviously with the uptake of hybrids, but they had some pretty bearish numbers on what palladium and platinum will be doing for the next sort of 10 years. And overall, yeah, I just see it as a story where everyone's like, that's just it's not it's not attractive, and it's largely hated, and it's kept going lower, and no one sees a demand use for it. And it's just fascinating that it's trading at this level, and to the point that even the people that understand it, they're sold. I was unfortunately didn't manage to get Dr. Davis, who's like an absolute expert in the space, but he unfortunately passed away at the start of last year. And he's been all over not only the fact that the sector's decline due to underinvestment, and that you're seeing kind of like similar to what we saw with uranium, and that mines are actually being put in care and maintenance, like Sibanye's Montana operation. They've put sort of essentially 50% of it in care and maintenance. but you're also seeing inventories. Inventories don't look crazy low if you just look at them at a straight level. But what has actually happened is China's essentially cornered the market. It's been the likes of Europe, Japan, the rest of the world, their inventories of platinum in particular have gone to more or less zero. So they're living sort of hand to mouth from South African mine supply, and China is increasingly stockpiling more and more, and it does not release its stockpiles. It's only available to its industry, which is
That's a familiar story.
yeah,
That
yeah, it
seems to
is.
apply to a lot of commodities these days. The West
Very much
is
so.
apathetic and China continues to accumulate.